106.9 FM.
Sherman Gillums Jr., Paralyzed Veterans of America.
For more than 70 years, Paralyzed Veterans of America has helped hundreds of thousands. All the
Hey, Patty Moe from Let's Get Comfortable.
Well, hello, Jimmy P. Also from Let's Get Comfortable.
Remember when you were a kid and you didn't have a lot of friends?
What are you talking about? I actually had a lot of
Well, now you always will have a friend, Pat. Just search for WGNU 920 AM and 106.9 FM on Facebook.
I'm still kind of hung up on the part where you said I didn't have any friends.
So if you're socially awkward or just completely unlikable, it doesn't matter. WGNU will always be your friend. Tell them, Patty Moe.
Apparently WGNU will always be your friend.
That's right. Search for WGNU 920 AM and 106.9 FM on Facebook and give them a like, and we'll all be happier and more popular.
Let's watch and see what makes people like one person and not another.
I deserve a reward. After all, I found our dream house.
Have a pickle.
Thanks.
But I found out how much the house was going to cost. Pass the jar.
But I found us the perfect mortgage.
But then I found out the house had radon.
Ugh.
The radioactive gas that's the second leading cause of lung cancer.
Yeah, well,
I need 2 pickles.
I found the phone number to call, 1-800-SOS-RADON, where you can get all the information you need to test your home and fix a radon problem. No, I'd like some ice cream with this pickle.
Are you trying to tell me something?
Protect your family from radon. Call 1-800-SOS-RADON. 1-800-SOS-RADON.
I am a Senior Corps RSVP volunteer.
I build teams
and friendships
and families.
I build lives and communities.
And myself.
Join Senior Corps RSVP.
Lead by experience.
At seniorcorps.gov.
Every topic is on the table here at WGNU 920 AM and 106.9 FM.
Welcome to the new John Simmons Show. After years of battling a gambling addiction, John found a hope and a future for his life through Christ. He has spent the last several years encouraging others to find joy, peace, and hope in their lives by walking out God's plan for their lives. Now, John wants to help you find the passion, vision, and faith you need to start writing out God's sentence for your life and help you add to it every day. Phone lines are now open. Call or text 314-880-0808. Now, here is your host, the new John Simmons.
Welcome, everybody. It's the new John Simmons Show, where you can find God's sentence for your life and become the new you, where we talk about finding passion, vision, and faith in your walk with Christ so that your life can overflow with joy, peace, and hope today. Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm here with my special guest on Fridays, Mr. Kevin Eskew.
Hello, it's good to be back.
Yes, we've been doing this wonderful segment each and every Friday where we're going over the motivational gifts found in Romans 12. If you have the opportunity and want to catch past episodes where me and Kevin have talked about this, they're available on both the Google Play Store and also on the iTunes Podcast Store. In addition, anyone who is listening in your radio, don't forget that we also have our live stream available for you over on Facebook. Just search for the new John Simmons Show. I'm very excited to talk about tonight's gift, Kevin. Even though it's just as exciting to talk about now off the air, guys. Me and Kevin were having a fascinating discussion about the show Survivor. If you haven't seen it, the show on CBS where they put all the people on the desert island and vote them off one by one.
And they don't feed them.
Sometimes, you think I could go on the Survivor diet plan. Me and my wife has got me on the Weight Watchers, Kevin. And got to lose some of them weights.
Yeah,
I got them points now.
It's an ironic name.
Yes, it really is. You watch the weight. What I think about is how many points would I get if I was on Survivor, though? Yeah. Or how many points do they get a day? Like 3 or 4 points?
Yeah, that's what you win at the end of this. All those stored up points that you didn't use.
Yeah, you could go back and they really do get to gorge on the hamburgers and all the pizza and stuff. I love Survivor. What I'd like to do, Kevin, and I'm going to tell everybody on the air about it today, who's obviously going to be so excited about this.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know, part of the Testimony House Network has been so exciting to have a dream of seeing other shows and programs come through the network and be able to reach out and do more than just the new John Simmons show. That's always been a plan of ours. And I'm dying to try this idea about this show called Spoiler Alert, Kevin. You know, you hate getting spoiled on things, but I would like to do a show where you and I, Kevin, because we have so many fascinating, to me, conversations where we disagree so wholeheartedly about so many different things when it comes to movies or shows or books. And so we want to do this show, podcast, live stream called Spoiler Alert, where we sort of talk about some of the things that we watch and like, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we do. We have a lot in common. We like a similar entertainment,
correct,
genres. However, our interpretation or what we liked about it or what we didn't like about it generally is very conflicting.
Yeah, including our thoughts about the last Avengers movie that came out, and obviously about the CBS show Survivor, which is one of my two favorite shows of all time, Kevin. I've told people on the show before, my favorite shows of all time are Survivor and Dateline. I love them so much.
So bizarre.
I saw a video. This is way off topic for my longtime listeners. You'll have to come back to this. We'll get to administrator in a second. I saw this video online this morning that just had me dying, Kevin. Dying, laughing.
Oh, yeah.
No, and it wasn't one that I sent you.
Oh, it wasn't.
It was another one. Bill Hader. Do you know who this guy is? He used to be on Saturday Night Live. He's been in a couple movies. And so he was on Jimmy Kimmel last week or something. And so these videos popped up on my YouTube, and he was asked, like, he does impressions as part of his shtick, you know, and so they were like, well, do you have any, you know, obscure impressions or anything that you don't normally do for people that, you know, might be funny? And so he goes, well, one of his most famous impressions is of Keith Morrison, who is the, you know, like the main guy on Dateline. He does, he's like, so, you know, Friday morning, great time for murder. I mean, like this guy or whatever, right? So he does this fantastic impression of Keith Morrison, which has like been on Saturday Night Live before. This impression several times. It's taken a lot of it's taken off as far as like a notable impression that he does. But what he says, he's like, what you guys don't know is that I do an impression of all of them, and like no one knows who the other people are, right? He's just so he sits down and he does the impression of all like the auxiliary guys on the show. I was like, my wife's sitting next to me. She doesn't get any of it. Sure. And to me, I'm just like, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard in my whole life. Like he nails perfectly like the type of person that they are, and also like their tone of voice and like their you know, their mannerisms.
You're talking about like characters.
Yeah,
he just creates characters.
Yeah, of these people, and I think it's so fascinating. I've heard once before, and I think this speaks to gifts, because like some people are born with natural abilities that the rest of us look at and you're just like, what on earth is that, right? Like, and so the Saturday Night Live guys, I've read about Saturday Night Live guys. Steve Martin, I've read his book, and I've read some other articles and things on people who have been on Saturday Night Live before, because I appreciate this ability to get up in front of an audience every week and sort of, it's not necessarily improv, but part of it is, and it's a lot of, you know, outside of the box thinking and trying to create new ideas on a week-to-week basis. And to me, that sort of is exciting. And one of the things that I find really fascinating about what they do, at least some of them, is that like if they're playing a character, so like Alec Baldwin's been playing Trump, or you know, you play all the presidents, or you play all the celebrities and things like that, is that these people will like get you know, some sort of MP3 or something. They'll be able to like just play over and over again like the speech of this person, and to get the cadence down. And so like all week long they'll just be like repeating what the people are saying in order to like nail it, and you know, to start talking like them, and to be able to. And I think that like that to me is like, that's a gift thing that I would never think to even try and do. And even if I listen to Donald Trump all week, you know, does that necessarily mean I'd be able to do a spot on impression of him, or the Dateline guys, or whoever it is, right? I think that's just a special talent, I think.
Oh, no doubt. That's definitely a special ability that and I've met some people in my life that I think that it is funny, because when you bring that up, and maybe other listeners know some people in their lives that are the same way. They just instinctively do it. Right. Even as kids, like you've got that one kid, or at least I remember growing up, where they were just very good at making impressions your other neighborhood kids or the teacher or the school principal. And even growing up, I think they discover maybe at a young age, look, I'm kind of good at this. And then they go further. But
I think about the times when we were at the casino, right? And there was this guy that played cards with us all the time, Ed. You remember? And so Ed was at the table all the time, and he had this mannerisms where he put his head down, just like this,
Yeah.
And I was able to catch that this was his thing, And you, I remember you were so shocked one time when there was like, this is, I was able to pinpoint exactly what he did, and it was like, to me, it was so obvious and blatant, but to everybody else it was just like, oh, that is him, it's like eye opening to sort of see, someone, their mannerisms and be able to attach their speech or their patterns. And I think it's such a gift. And maybe that's why I appreciate Bill and what he was able to do with the Dateline guys, because underreported story is that there's other Dateline reporters than Keith Morrison. And I was very excited to hear all of these great impressions. They're so ridiculous. Anyway, but I think that goes to gifts, and I'm very excited to continue this conversation with you. We only have 2 gifts left, Kevin.
Yeah, I know. Can you believe it?
Can you believe it? Some people do. Some people are like, ugh, stop talking about gifts anytime soon. Hey, we're trying to encourage people. I really believe that.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be a resource for people down the road who want to seek a deeper relationship with understanding who God made them. A very important question in my early walk with Christ when I came across this resource, Kevin. And I think for you too, I don't want to speak for you, but I think that both of us were touched by this book, Discovering Your God-Given Gifts, which was written by Don and Katie Fortune, which is one of the resources we use to describe what the gifts are and how to find them in your life. And so for me, this gift book and the idea that God gifted us was such an eye-opening experience. And so in this first segment, talking about the gift of administration tonight, let's go ahead and start with what this gift is.
Well, great definition. Administrator is a born leader. We could use words like facilitator, organizer, ruler, leader, superintendent. But they're not necessarily the visionaries. They're not necessarily the guy or girl that comes up with this master plan. But when they hear the vision, they're the first ones to step up and say, "Hey, let's tackle this." Or I've got they're just gifted at being able to pull together all the talent in a room or in an organization and say, you're going to fit in to fulfill this vision. We're going to need step 1 through 100. And we're going to need all these people to accomplish this step-by-step process. And they just are incredibly gifted. It almost reminds me of that a conductor standing in front of an orchestra. And you've got all these different instruments, and you have all these different, where they come in and they go out and they fade in and they fade out. And they're conducting all this at one time to make one big, beautiful song. And we don't appreciate the art of the conductor and how they are leading this entire orchestra. And a leader is much like that in any organization or situation.
Yeah, I think when I think of the words you just used, and again, to sort of back up maybe even a little bit further, that maybe we didn't get this point across to those people who may be tuning in for the first time tonight, the motivational gifts are found in Romans 12 in the Bible. There are 7 of them listed, and each of these gifts are inside of you. One of them is your primary gift, and it's a gift that God has given you so that you can utilize his path and his sentence for you in the kingdom, or his unique goals for you to walk out in your life in Christ. And so when we go over these gifts each week, it's to encourage you to find what your primary gift is, or to try and give you a hunger and a thirst to find the gift that God has for you so that you can then chase after that ultimate plan that he has for your life. So the gift that we're talking about tonight is a gift called administration, and it is, as Kevin described, a gift of a person who is a born leader, but not necessarily the leader. And I think of the word manager a little bit. It's not listed in our text here or our pages here that we have in front of us for our notes. But when I think of facilitator or superintendent, I think of school like a principal, like someone who's in charge specifically, but it's sort of overseeing something and not necessarily getting the vision to the people. He's sort of a facilitator of a larger vision that comes from someone else.
Correct. Yeah. Your leaders and your administrators, the gifts is, again, they're not necessarily gifted in communicating or sharing the vision or even coming up with the vision, But when they catch someone's vision, or when they see it in their gifting, in their mind, they can see all the puzzles, and they can see how to get there.
Right.
And so that's their gifting. And there are probably many people that have come across our lives that maybe really demonstrated this, but we've never really recognized it as such.
Sure. And I think in the Bible too, Kevin, your favorite Bible character is Joseph, right?
Yes, it is.
And Joseph is listed as a main, character in the Bible. I hate to use the word character, a person who's listed in the Bible who walked in this gift. Joseph, was given away as a slave and it ended up rising up through the ranks to become the second in command of the king.
Sure.
And he's overseeing all of these things, but none of it's his.
Right.
The vision of how to run things, is not necessarily going to come out of his mouth.
Right.
And so,
and again, that's a perfect example of an illustration of what I was just saying. The Pharaoh got a dream about something that was coming. Joseph didn't. Joseph, he just prayed and said, God, show me what this dream is. And then got the interpretation, of course, from God. And God said, gave him a bit of a strategy, but it was Joseph that had to organize this. It was Joseph that had to pull in the resources of an entire nation to see, collect 7 years worth of food and then divvy 7 years worth of food back out when there was a 7-year famine. And that, talk about an entire, a monumental task that you are on your shoulders, is the survival of all these people,
right,
of an entire nation, because based on a vision that was given to you from another source, what's coming and what needs to be done. Now you have to figure out how to do it.
Yeah, this is sort of like the hands of ministry work, essentially. Like if you want to call a perceiver maybe the head, and you call the administrator the hands, is that something you might refer to it as?
Yeah, I mean,
or is the servers the hands?
The big difference between a server and an administrator, because some people may get confused and they may see a server and think, oh, you'd be a great leader. Servers they actually enjoy repetitive or simple tasks. They like the short term. Servers are very much in the short term type task oriented goals. Leaders do not like short term repetitive tasks. They love the long game. Mm-hmm. They like things that are going to take months, years down the road to accomplish. And
that sounds like so much fun.
But the servers come in because with that long term, let's just say it's going to take a year to accomplish this particular vision, but you're going to have steps along the way. And the servers come in, and an administrator is going to be great because he's going to go to a server and say, I just need you to do step one, and it should only take you a couple of weeks, or even maybe an afternoon. And that server will love doing that. And then they're done. And then they'll find the next server for the next task. And so they break it out into chunks. But that's what's so amazing about leaders. And leaders don't get overwhelmed by the amount of steps, tasks, and juggling all these balls in the air. They're just so good at keeping track of where we are on the timeline, what's going on. And I really think they're very well gifted in recognizing other people's abilities and weaknesses.
Do you think that a administrator in their gifting is someone who gets a vision, or are they primarily just someone who helps facilitate the vision?
Primarily, they're just ones that help facilitate or help see it come to pass.
Mm-hmm.
They latch on to a someone's vision, and then it becomes their own vision. And we know this in our own personal experiences. Someone comes along, or maybe it's your pastor or even employer or employee or anything. Someone comes along, they give you this idea, or they tell you this idea of what they're about to do, and your spirit leaps and you're like, wow, I need to be a part of that.
Okay, yeah.
I really want to be a part of what you're doing, and I'm excited about seeing it accomplished. That's your leader role. Now, leaders can have, but if your secondary gift is a perceiver, you're a perceiver and a leader, you're probably going to get your own visions and then lead them and see them come across. It really just kind of depends on what your other gifts are, will determine whether or not you're somebody that will generate your own visions.
I really like what you've sort of broken down here in the last couple minutes, this idea of all the different roles. And I think that that's a huge takeaway from, the last 5 or 6 weeks we've been doing this. For anybody who's learning about gifts for the first time, or you're really trying to understand your gift, is that each gift has such a unique purpose, and that, they're described as even being parts of the body, and each part of the body having to do its own, separate function, but they're all working together for, the same task. And I think here in the gifts, all of us have a primary gift, but we're all suited to serve God's kingdom. And I think if you just look at, from an overarching perspective, you have a perceiver, someone who might get a vision from God, and then, you have the administrator underneath them to sort of, plan it out and put it together and sort of guide people in how to do, just like with Joseph and the king. And then you need the servers to do the hands, and the givers to support with the money. And you need the, and the teachers to, teach people why we're doing those things and how to do it correctly. And so, it's a great takeaway for people who might miss it. That this gift isn't just about you. It's about us puzzle piecing together to do God's work.
Yeah. That's absolutely right, and it's just so like God, and we're not required to have it all or to figure it all out. I mean, He's designed it where we all need one another. It's such a beautiful, a beautiful picture when we even think and step back and look at how the body of Christ is supposed to work. And how it's not just about going to Sunday, shaking a couple hands, kissing a few babies, and saying, "Oh, how was your week?" and then going off. That's not what the church or is supposed to look like. That's not what the body of Christ is supposed to look like. It's supposed to look like what we've just been talking about here, where we all have a specific importance, a need. We all fill a specific hole. And when you don't show up, when you've got a visionary, you've got a leader, but you have no servers or no givers, you're going to have a weak, the vision's going to struggle. You're going to have a weak body. It's going to be sick. And it's just like if you've got a bunch of servers, but no leader to organize them and to focus their energies into a specific vision or track, you're going to have chaos and then again, another weak body and ineffective. And so I just love how God has designed it where we need one another, and we can look at our own selves and say, you know what? I am important. I don't care what the devil says. He can go to hell.
Right.
I am important, and I do have a job here, and I do have a purpose and a plan for my life.
Yeah. I think that you've hit it on the nail. That's how God's designed it. The world is trying to trick us and say that, if you're a leader, the workers underneath you essentially have to, rebel against you, and that's the man, and I don't need him or whatever. And meanwhile, the men on top are just like, I don't need these workers, but we do. We need each other in order to make things work. And so we're going to get into some of the characteristics of the administrator and hopefully be able to help guide you to find out if this is your motivational gift. So when we come back, we'll discuss the survey of characteristics, and then at the end of the hour, we're going to talk about some practical ways you can use this gift both in ministry and in your career. So you're going to want to stick around and catch all of that. Don't go away. You're listening to Kevin Eskew and the New John Simmons here on the show. New John Simmons Show, part of the Testimony House Network.
live button when you visit newjohnsimmons.com. Testimony House Ministries is the proud sponsor of the New John Simmons Show. We are so thankful for all of you who tune into the show, watch us live on Facebook or on our YouTube channel. Without all of you, the New John Simmons Show and all the other Testimony House Network shows would not be possible. Please visit newjohnsimmons.com today and click the Partner with Us tab to help us continue sharing our message of future and a hope through Christ with others. God bless.
Hey everybody, New John Simmons here with you. Back in 2012, I found myself at the end of my rope for what seemed like the 100th time. I cried out to God and said, God, if you're real, I need you to show me a future and a hope for my life. What happened next changed my life forever. It took me out of my life where I was a gambling addict who had lost over $500,000, allowed me to begin a new life in Christ, where I found more joy, peace, and hope than I ever knew existed. I share the stories, including where I blamed God for my father's death and the call into ministry that I found in my first book called Finding Faith. I also share with you the answers to the questions that I was asking God about what is faith and how can I move mountains with it. Finding Faith has those stories and so much more. I absolutely believe it can encourage you to find faith in your life today. Finding Faith by me, the New John Simmons, is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble website, Walmart. You can also pick up a copy signed by me over at newjohnsimmons.com.
Sports and entertainment, business and politics, health and wellness, all on WGNU, the talk of St. Louis.
Want to start writing or add to God's sentence for your life? Want to learn what that means? Visit newjohnsimmons.com for articles and videos that can help you find a future and a hope for your life today. Now, back to the New John Simmons Show.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. New John Simmons Show with you each and every night at 9 p.m. live on Facebook and also on your radio dial. Here with Kevin Eskew tonight, my buddy in crime.
We've got some low-key tracks going on. Have we kind of switched things up a little bit to make Facebook a little bit happier with you?
See, I've been getting tagged for all of my copyrighted music. Now, here's the thing. For those of you who aren't in the know, because I work here at a radio station, I have a blanket license to be able to play whatever music that I feel like it.
Sure.
But now that I've attempted to go into the live streaming here in the last couple months, Facebook and YouTube get really, ignorant.
Yeah.
And ignorance is probably the wrong word.
Well,
but
there
that's
are
how I feel.
algorithms out there
They get
detecting.
upset. And so they send me little emails or little comments. It's like being in school. I get a little note from Facebook and they're like, we really didn't like that. And, YouTube will say, you can't make any money off of this video anymore. Or sometimes I might even see a video get tagged down. And so I'm working to change the music. I haven't got it to where I want it. I'm not exactly 100% happy with the music that we currently have.
Yeah, I don't like it.
But I have to have something in the meantime until I find the perfect solution. What I need is
more energy in that.
A music producer to make a bunch of music for me that I can use on my show. Maybe I'm to find a guy. I mean, we have one who works here, Integrity, and has songs that we play on our show. Mm-hmm. Maybe we have to kick that tire a little harder. And so, anyway, we have. Thanks for noticing.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. That's
some of the songs that we have new, or I like. Some of them I'm not a big fan of, but
yeah, I didn't like that one.
That's the song they used to sing at church all the time. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so.
Yeah,
that was that song.
Yeah, well,
it wasn't the right version of it.
Yeah, it didn't sound like any. Maybe a dead church.
Yeah, maybe that was the hymnal version. That wouldn't got the Holy Spirit going, huh?
No, no, it's like nap time.
Well,
where were we?
All
right, we're back, and we're going to talk about administrative gifts.
Okay.
So the leaders out there, we're going to go over the characteristics, and as we've done a lot of times before, there's a lot of identifying characteristics that are fairly universal. And out of the book, Katie Fortune did lots of interviews during her, because she was a teacher at heart. So when she was compiling and writing this book and doing lots of research, she came across many people that identified in these certain gifts, and then kind of gave them questionnaires and came up with, I think, a fairly accurate and not all inclusive. Obviously there are some characteristics that you may really demonstrate or them that are not in this list, but I think it's a very good starting point where you can kind of read through and say, yeah, this is me, this is not me. And so as we go over some of these, if you're listening, just kind of score yourself a 5 being always, like that's definitely 100% me. And then all the way down to 0, which would be never. Like I am absolutely no way. And let me just tell you, your first gut instinct is always right. And there is nothing wrong with being a big O 0 because again, it's being frank. This may not be your gift, but you're going to score lots of 4s and lots of 5s on a different gift. So, anything in between, if you're like halfway and, sometimes sort of give yourself 3 points. So, with that, what would be the first characteristic, John, that jumps out to you that you think?
Well, number 1 on the list says an administrator is highly motivated to organize that for which he or she is responsible. The 2 words together, highly motivated, meaning like you get excited to wake up and do this.
Right.
And so if you're going to score yourself a 5 or a 4 like I do in this is something where like organization is important to you, and also like the act of doing it is also exciting because you want to do it each day.
Yeah, like here would be a good example. And I think it's next year. I know this is terrible to admit, but I think it's next year that my parents turn 50. Or not turn 50.
You're almost 50.
Their 50th,
50th anniversary. Okay.
And I know it's a dear to my heart. Now, unfortunately, my mother never listens. Good that my mother doesn't listen. I wish she did. But I know my mom's not listening to this. But I know she is dying for me to organize. She's always wanted a big party for her 50th wedding anniversary. I'm dreading it. Or leaders, big leaders.
Yeah.
Like they would hear about that and be like, oh, can I please be a party planner? Can I please organize this whole thing? I'll organize the venue. I'll organize the food. I'll make sure that the band is there. What kind of music do you want? Like they love this. And this is what it means that highly motivated to organize that which he or she is responsible for. So they love to take that on that. And again, it's a long-term goal. This is a year and a half down the road.
Right.
But for a leader, this would be like, oh, this is perfect timing. We need to start now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got a year and a half.
Yeah.
I'm not worrying about this until.
So what did me and Kevin have both taken this test. What did you score yourself on?
2.
And I'm a 4. Okay. So
give us some time.
Yeah. Let's go down the list and try and hit a few of these before we have to take our next break.
Sure.
So number 3 on the list, I like respects and handles authority well. I like this because in my old life, Kevin, I struggled mightily to take any sort of criticism, any instruction, any authority figure in my life, whether it was a boss at the casino or anyone else that I'd come across. It was very difficult for me to both respect them and also handle any authority that I was given, whether it was to ask to smile, as we've told that story many times. I, gave my fake smile, and
sure.
I remember even getting in an altercation, not a fist fight, but a verbal altercation with an employee we had who was a shift supervisor when we worked at Ameristar, and I said, "You can't fire me." And it was a whole thing, and he tried to fire me on the floor, and I wasn't having it. And I was just thinking that my attitude now would be so much different than when I was back then. There's no way I would have even gotten to a point where I wanted to have a verbal altercation or just establish my dominance. And so I think for me, this has changed in my heart a little bit. I'm still not a 5 at this, but I understand that before I met Christ, I was a 0. Like I was a never respecting authority, and I think that we see this a lot in the world, and everybody's so upset at, whether it's the police or the government or whatever the authority is, or your boss or your teacher or your school or your parents, a lot of people, the world will teach you, you fight for your rights. And sometimes, your rights is to work underneath or to do what is being asked of you. Just like a child has to listen to their parents. Sometimes we not just have to listen to our boss who pays their paychecks, but other people as well.
Yeah, that's good. Well, how about this next one? A visionary person with a leader is a visionary person with a broad perspective. We talked about this a little bit before. I don't know. That one,
I think it speaks to the fact that an administrator is going to help a person who has a vision put it to pass, right? Or make it happen, to use another phrase. And so an administrator, a leader, is able to have a broad, a sense of the field, the architect view, where they see it on the paper, essentially. They may not, be able to do it and put the beams where they need to be, but they can show you that this is where the beam goes and this is what I see, and they can describe that sort of mentality, whereas it may not be their vision. And even though I think it sort of, utilizes the word maybe poorly, or maybe.
I think so. I think that's my issue with the vision. I think that they can think long term.
Right.
That they are already thinking 5 steps ahead, where the server or others may think, okay, well, what do we just need to do now? The leader's worried about what we need to do now, but they're also thinking, okay, well, if we make this is, they can just see down the road and are far more efficient with their planning because they're thinking several steps ahead. So I really think that's a lot when they mean by this broad perspective.
Number 9 on the list says an administrator or a leader enjoys delegating tasks and supervising people.
Mm-hmm.
While I score very high on many of these characteristics of an administrator, I score very poorly in this area. I do not enjoy delegating. I'm a micromanager, to use, common words against myself. It doesn't paint me in a very well picture, but I struggle to see other people do things I know I can do, or I want to just do for them instead of letting them grow in that.
I don't know. Yeah, for sure. You are awful at delegating.
You were shaking your head no, like you were going to disagree, and then he comes back and he says, "No, that's it. That's you." No, yeah.
I don't know about the micromanager. I think that's a little different. Like I don't think that you necessarily are in other people's business or what they're doing.
Oh, okay.
You just don't let them do it.
Right.
It's not that you just need to double check every T is crossed and every I is dotted. That's a micromanager. I need to be over your shoulder and I got to make sure you're doing every little task correctly.
I see.
You're not. I wouldn't say that you're necessarily like that, but you just don't let anything go. If you think something needs to be done, I think you're afraid to ask people to do it. You're afraid to put people out.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just, I'll just do it myself. I'll just do it myself. And then it gets out of control. I am the entire opposite. I can't wait to delegate things. I'm like, you want me to do what? Like who? Yeah. I'm immediately looking around like, who could I give this to?
Yeah.
Like who could help me get this accomplished?
So you enjoy supervising then?
I do.
I
like the people part of it, and I like instructing. See, to me, a supervisor, because I'm a teacher gift, when supervising, most supervisors does a form of instructing, of teaching. Oh, let me show you how you can do this a little bit better, or let me give you some advice on this, and that kind of supervisory role I do enjoy because it involves teaching, and the delegating, it involves me not having to do the menial tasks that I do not like doing.
That reminds me of Megan's grandpa, who is a full-time supervisor of all projects at anybody's house. He just comes over and he says, "You do this, you do that," and it's a lot of supervising, not a lot of doing, and I appreciate that. But it speaks to this gift.
Yeah.
Number 11.
Okay. Has great zeal and enthusiasm for whatever he or she is involved in.
Yeah, I think this is important for someone who is, sharing a vision with other people. If you are leading something, you need to be passionate or, be excited about what you're leading.
You got to believe in it.
Yeah, because otherwise you're talking about getting burnt out. If I ask someone who doesn't believe in like if I asked let's just use political terminology for a second. If I asked a Democrat to go, be the press secretary for Trump, they're not going to be very excited about talking about any of that stuff, And so it's the same thing for anybody, whether you're, leading an army or you're leading a school or you're leading your own family. If you're not excited, like if me and my wife disagree on how we need to, get out of debt or how we spend our money.
Yeah,
it's they're not going to be that excited to go and do whatever they're involved in.
I think it would also be safe to say that most leaders would not take a leadership role in something that they were not enthusiastic about. If they did not really buy into the vision or the goal, I think that they've got the wisdom where they're just unless they've got suckered into it somehow, that would not do that, where others like me or you may not have that wisdom, and we might take on, like you not delegating enough, we might take on tasks that we bit off more than people say, I bit off more than I could chew here. That would probably not be the word of a leader. a born leader, an administrator, because they would probably already be able to have that broad vision and see, hey, this is bigger than you realize it. But people like me that not so score super high in this, I might bite off more than I can chew because I didn't realize I didn't have that broad vision. And so then I get myself into trouble because I'm no longer enthusiastic about what I'm doing.
Number 15 on the list is me to a number 5 on the scale here. Constantly writes notes to self. I mean, if my computer doesn't have them, my sticky notes do, or any scrap sheet of paper has something written down as far as a to-do list or, things I'm thinking about or ideas. I'm constantly writing notes down.
Yeah.
I guess that's part of the planning process for anybody who's walking in the side of gift.
Yeah, I guess, I think it goes to the characteristic of organization. I think they're very organized people in their own lives. And so when they write notes down and reminders, it's, like keeping that calendar going. It's just what, it's just a way of them leading themselves and making sure that they keep themselves on task and on track of what their goals and accomplishments are, maybe for the day or the week.
We've gone over several of the characteristics from the gift of administration. And if you've scored yourself high in these questions or characteristics that we've gone over tonight, just to encourage you to go maybe pick up Don and Katie Fortune's book and be able to, determine if this is your primary gift or whatever your primary gift is. I would encourage you to delve deeper into it, try and mature in it, whatever that looks like for you. The book gives several examples and things that you can do to try and mature in your gifts. And so I appreciate things like that. But when we come back, we're going to talk about the day-to-day use of the gift, whether it's in ministry with your church or your any sort of volunteer work. We're also going to talk about how you might use it in a career or path outside of the ministry. So don't go away. We got more with Kevin Eskew. Also answer your Facebook questions that have popped up here on the new John Simmons Show, part of the Testimony House Network.
Cardio and strength and personal training. Classes start at just $5, and the 8-week boot camp starts at $75. But wait, as a listener of the new John Simmons Show, Faithfully Fit is offering you a buy one, get one free boot camp when you mention this ad when signing up. That's 2 camps for the price of 1. You can bring a friend, split the cost, or have your second camp for free. Either way, this is a special offer only for show listeners. Sign up today by calling 314-239-4149 or visit faithfully.fit for more information. Faithfully Fit can also hold classes at your church or school. Don't delay. Contact Faithfully Fit, where they hope to strengthen your body and your relationship with Christ. Call 314-239-4149. Hey, everybody. New John Simmons here with you. Back in 2012, I found myself at the end of my rope for what seemed like the 100th time. I cried out to God and said, God, if you're real, I need you to show me a future and a hope for my life. What happened next changed my life forever. Took me out of my life where I was a gambling addict who had lost over $500,000, allowed me to begin a new life in Christ where I found more joy, peace, and hope than I ever knew existed. I share the stories, including where I blamed God for my father's death and the call into ministry that I found in my first book called Finding Faith. I also share with you the answers to the questions that I was asking God about what is faith and how can I move mountains with it. Finding Faith has those stories and so much more. I absolutely believe it can encourage you to find faith in your life today. Finding Faith by me, the new John Simmons, is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble website, Walmart. You can also pick up a copy signed by me over at newjohnsimmons.com.
Testimony House Ministries is the proud sponsor of the new John Simmons Show. We are so thankful for all of you who tune into the show, watch us live on Facebook or on our YouTube channel. Without all of you, the new John Simmons Show and all of the other Testimony House Network shows would not be possible. Please visit newjohnsimmons.com today and click the Partner with Us tab to help us continue sharing our message of the future and a hope through Christ with others. God bless. Are you interested in learning more about finding God's sentence for your life? At newjohnsimmons.com, there are articles and videos describing how you can begin to write God's sentence for your life by finding passion, vision, and faith. In addition, newjohnsimmons.com has a variety of ways for you to be encouraged to continue writing God's sentence. As always, you can hear the show live weekdays at 9 p.m. Central Time by clicking the Listen Live button when you visit newjohnsimmons.com.
Every topic is on the table here at WGNU 920 AM and 106.9 FM.
Want to see behind-the-scenes photos and get the latest news from the show? All you have to do is follow @New John Simmons on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Now, let's get back to the New John Simmons Show.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. New John Simmons Show, part of the Testimony House Network. Don't forget to head over to social media. Give us a like or a follow. Just look for the New John Simmons Show on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. It's everywhere. Here with Kevin Eskew tonight, wrapping up our conversation about the motivational gift of administration. Very exciting to only have one more week of this because it's been just a fun trip, but I'm excited to see what God uses us to do next here on the show on Fridays. Now that you've become a staple fixture of the Friday show. Before the break, Kevin, we got a question on our Facebook live stream.
Okay.
Mark asks, are you guys equating leadership with administration?
Yes. I mean, we've been interchanging in our dialogue here, referring it to either leader, leadership, administrator. Basically, if you look at the original Greek, and we're talking about Romans 12, verses 7 through 8. It says, he who leads with diligence. That word leads there in the Greek is, and I hope I pronounce this right because I'm no Greek person, proistemi. It's proistemi. And basically the definition of that Greek word is to stand before, to preside, maintain, be over, and rule. So in the English, I mean, you could, that's a very synonym of administrator or leader, someone that stands before, to presides, maintains, be over, and rule. I mean, you can really interchange either word. So really depends a lot on what translation you use. Some translations are going to may even say he who leads or who is a leader. So you can use either one. I try not to split hairs on a lot of that. But that is, if you're into word study, that is the Greek word used in the New Testament.
Kevin, you're getting some love here on Friday night. Patrick wants to tell you, what's up, Kevin? Patrick Wilk.
What's up, Patrick?
We're here in the last segment, and what we try to do here on Friday nights is we've been going through sort of a process here. We tell you what the gift is in the first segment. We go over some of the characteristics in the second segment, and then for our final segment of each show, we've been going over some of the practical ways you might use this. And this stems from the fact that Don and Katie Fortune did a number of, hundreds of thousands of people, they interviewed and talked to about their gifts and service. And so they created a list of, ministry roles and also jobs that suited these particular gifts. And so we like to go over some of them with you just to encourage you because, Kevin, isn't it important not to get burnt out in things you're doing?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And that's again, even that we talked about in some of the characteristics that they do things that are enthusiastically, they're very highly motivated, and that you may see someone in their lives that they just love every day that they show up. They're just so excited about it. It's probably, it could be partly they're a leader, but that they've bought into it, and you may be like, I really envy that. I really wish I had a passion, but I haven't found it yet. And so, discovering your gifts is one of those great stepping stones in order to plug in and not get burnt out on something that you may.
Sure, yeah. I mean, if you're going to find God's plan for your life, it's going to bring you hope, peace, and joy. I mean, that's its ultimate goal. I mean, it doesn't mean you're going to have an easy life. It doesn't mean things won't be hard. It doesn't mean your road won't be difficult.
Right.
But ultimately, God's going to be able to give you grace and mercy in areas where you need it. But if you're like completely every single moment of your life feels like you're a salmon trying to get upstream, it's just, it's probably not exactly where you need to be. And I think whether you're volunteering at church or whether you're in a job you hate, if you're not using your gifts or you're not utilizing them to your ability, it could be why you don't like what you do, or you feel like you're not in the right place. And it might just be a gut feeling for some people. Like, I don't think I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah.
Like, I feel uncomfortable here. And it's not always about being comfortable, because a lot of times using your gift, God will put you places where you are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But there should be a level of, I think I'm meant to be here. I feel like I'm growing. I feel like I'm using my gifts to serve the kingdom.
Yeah.
Let's go over some of the ministry roles, Kevin. So this is, if you're using the gift of administration, this is somewhere that you're going to, want to maybe plug yourself into, because we here on the show and in the ministry believe that all people should be, actively pursuing to be plugged into their church, or at least trying to be plugged into some sort of ministry work to serve the kingdom outside of your own, career.
Right.
And the roles of administrator obviously align with leadership and sort of big vision picturing. And so in the Discover Your God-Given Gifts book, Kevin, a lot of the ministry roles revolve around children's pastors or regular pastors, people who are in charge of Christian education, missionaries, people who are in charge of something at the church. So this is,
and again, it makes perfect sense. It's generally the pastor of that particular church is come with a vision for the community, for their city, for the area location that they're in. People come in, they hear this, and for leaders, they'll gravitate toward that pastor, and they'll surround him, and they'll be like, look, I have, I hear you're starting this children's ministry, and they'll be incredibly enthusiastic about it, but you're going to see them immediately take the reins, because a pastor can't do everything.
Sure.
And so they're going to have to learn to delegate, and they're going to have to learn to put things in the hands of capable believers, because that's the way God's designed it, for us to all to have our role, and for great pastors to know, hey, I've come with a vision. I'm here to feed the sheep. I'm here to, be the pastor, but I can't be the one that is running all these ministries at the same time.
Right.
And that's, thank God that we have leaders out there that are willing to come in and take the responsibility and the weight of seeing the pastor's vision come to pass.
And I really appreciate people like that who are able to engage that fire, because especially in today's, culture, it's Christian culture. I mean that, you go to a lot of churches and the access to the pastor is either limited or non-existent. Yeah. And so to have that secondary person who you can see on a daily basis, who engages the same fire that a pastor may have, can really be help to spread the fire of that church and allow God to, move into the lives of people who maybe don't understand the big vision, or they want to get excited for what that church is doing. And just have somebody who says, hey, look, man, I just came here a year ago, but I'm really excited about what we're doing. I think that's an exciting role for people inside the church.
Yeah. And for another thing that really, I think that administrators or leaders really are probably good at, and really part of the whole thing, working with people, because they love to work with people, that especially in a church environment where, like you said, that not everyone gets the pastor's ear, but these leaders, these administrators that are heading these maybe different departments, maybe they're an elder of a church, they really get to disciple a lot of Christians within, hopefully, the church. Hopefully they're doing this where they are answering lots of questions and being there for those times where trials and tribulations may come, or maybe a brand new believer that's come and they've got lots of questions like you did. So these leaders have great opportunities to interact on people at all types of different levels in their walk, whether it's a brand new believer or a senior believer, to help disciple them.
Let's pivot a little bit, Kevin, and move from ministry work and into career jobs.
Okay.
These are areas, I'm not telling you if you are an administrator or you feel like you're called, and you're gifted to be an administrator, that these are jobs you need to go, put an application in for. Right. It's what they found that many people who are walking in this gift have gravitated towards and what they've been successful in. And so it's just a guide. It's not necessarily, hey, this is a stone cold map. If you want to find God's plan for your life and you're an administrator, you go be this. That's not what this is. It's just a conversation about the types of gifts and why they're useful in that field. So,
all right, so let's hear some of them.
Okay, so inside the career field, it has listed high in the gift of administration engineers, city planners, people who are developing land, and
I could see that. Those city planners and developing land, that's long-term stuff.
Mm-hmm. Inside the business world, Kevin, it looks like people who have management, either a marketing executive, a management analysis, managers of a retail space. These are jobs that are listed high as an administration gift.
You could see that for sure.
You have a reason why?
Yeah, I mean, well, there's obviously supervising roles and delegation roles and any kind of management job and it's also, again, you're taking on lots of responsibilities. You know, those type of jobs where you're carrying the burden and the responsibility of so many different tasks that must be done, whether it's in a retail store or in city planning, all that kind of stuff. Being at the top, it does come with its own level of, the buck stops with me type of thing. And some people really want to just avoid that. They're like, look, sounds exciting, but I don't want that kind of responsibility. Leaders would never say that. Leaders would be like, no problem. I'll handle it.
Our final section of careers that administrators gravitate towards is education, a huge one in the gifts study here. Professors, school administrators, teachers of all kinds score very high in the administration gift, second only to the gift of teaching itself, Kev.
Interesting.
I think I see that. I mean, if a school has a vision to be this type of school, or the school, the principal lays out or superintendent lays out a vision for how they want the library to look or how they want the class to run. I think that people need that to be able to catch that vision and be able to put it, into place.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if that's it, then I want to encourage everybody to head over to Apple iTunes or Google Play to catch a past episode. You can find all sorts of videos and things over at newjohnsimmons.com. I want to thank Mr. Integrity, who's been here with us tonight on the boards. And Kevin, I want to thank you for coming here tonight.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, and I want to thank all of you for watching live on Facebook and also listening live on your radio. We'll be here again on Monday. Until then, guys, I pray you discover a future and a hope for your life today.
Thanks for listening to the new John Simmons Show, part of the Testimony House Network. To replay this episode or listen to past episodes, look for the new John Simmons Show podcast on your mobile device. Stay connected to the show. Read the latest news, blog posts, and see behind-the-scenes photos by following at New John Simmons on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you would like to learn more about how you can begin to write God's sentence for your life, or join a growing community of people who are finding passion, vision, and faith for their lives, please visit newjohnsimmons.com. Until next time, we pray you discover a future and a hope for your life today.
I deserve a reward. After